What's up, my beautiful black kings and queens? This is your girl Maria and Shanti bringing you Talking Back, Thinking Womanism, and Thinking Black on WSTU. This is Clark Atlanta's University only morning radio show, and today I want to have a brief moment of silence for our young princesses Nevaeh Adams, age 5 from South Carolina, and Camille McKinney, age 3 from Birmingham, Alabama. Both babies have been missing, and yesterday Camille was found after 10 long days of searching, and Nevaeh was found yesterday after being missing since August. I want our listening audience to be aware of the many dangers that this world is offering and to protect, love, and care for our babies. Yes, and we're back. Today we're going to talk about the high school student in Oregon recently came to school with an armed shotgun, and the high school football coach took the gun from the students and hugged him. We're going to talk about the A3C Conference criminal reform panel discussion with Charlamagne Tha God, rapper T.I., and New York best-selling artist Shaka Senghor. And we're also going to talk about homecoming festivities, and our theme this year was for the culture, but was it really for the culture, Shanti? Did you like homecoming?
You know what? The rain was trying to stop me, but it ain't get to me. But I do feel like the unity that we had last homecoming, we really got into it. I felt like as a school, as a community, we came together, we enjoyed ourselves. I feel like the current body was not really into it this semester. I feel like the alumni, though, they really gave it their all. They came to show out, as they always do every year.
But anyways, we're going to have a little music break, and we're going to be right back with This is Talking Back, Thinking Womanism, and Thinking Black on WSTU.
Guys, welcome back. So today we're going to start off talking about what happened last week in Portland, Oregon. The prosecutor has finally released a video footage of a high school football coach who disarmed and then hugged a student wielding a shotgun at a Portland high school. So this took back a little while back. It was around May 17 at Park Rose High School, but they just finished with the case, and so this is why we're getting the video now. The football and track coach named Kenan Lowe was working security during the time and saved the school from what could have possibly been an awful, terrible situation. So the team was named Angel Granados Diaz. He's now 19 years old, and he pled guilty October 10th to one count of unlawful possession of a firearm in a public building and one count of unlawful possession of a loaded firearm in public.
Yeah, like to have so many mass shootings that's happening in schools now today, like that's not normal. Like the whole entire situation. When I first saw the video, I almost like cried because I'm like, these are kids at the end of the day, and I'm like, no kid should just wake up one day and just think to yourself like I should bring a gun to school and do the worst. And investigators, the prosecutor that led the investigation came to the conclusion that the teen Angel Granados Diaz, he was not in the right mental space, but also he did not come to make a mass shooting. It was a mental health crisis that I was reading in the articles, and he only came with one bullet. But still, like, why do teens have access to these heavy machinery?
Why does this feel like the way out? And to bring that, we talk about mental health. There's a lot of PTSD from guns. Be it now students are scared to go to school, but also we've always had problems with students walking to school. This is why, like, in local neighborhoods, you'll have kids and they'll have watches because they're scared of people shooting them on their way to school. Why is it so dangerous in the United States, a first world country, to get your education?
Like, it should be, like, first I want to condone the security guard. He was supposed to be the security guard at the time, but he's also the football and track coach, Keon Lewis.
Mad respect.
Yes, mad respect, because in that situation, like, when I was reading the articles, he said that he looked at this child's eyes and just knew, like, this is not the way out for him at all. And he saved the life of him and also anybody that could have been in harm's way. And all he did was hug the child. Like, that video, like, if nobody's seen that video, watch it. Like, it's gonna show you that all kids nowadays just need that love. You don't know if it was I'm not blaming the teen. At the end of the day, a child just doesn't know. But that's no excuse for killing innocent people, especially children. Like, I'm not saying that he should have did it or could have did it, should have did it better or something like that. But I think now in the United States we need more mental health facilities, especially in schools, because nowadays people.
It's been long overdue. I mean, since Kent State, because it went from colleges getting shot up to Sandy Hook, where you get in high school,
elementary school.
We're gonna get to preschoolers. It's gonna be 3-4 years old. You're gonna be scared of
daycares. Like this is like attacking our babies. Like you should want to. Like we send kids to school to learn, not be put in harm's way, regardless if it's a mass shooting, regardless if it's bullying, regardless if it's anything negative. Like children should not be in fear of going to school.
They should not be wanting to kill themselves. We see also more and more, and this is, I've had a personal experience with this. One of my little cousins, their classmate, he was 7 years old, committed suicide. 7 years old, this little girl already said, I'm done with life. Why are our kids not being talked to about their life, about their appreciation of life, of what's going on in their life, to be held, to be whole, so they can grow and not die? Like, why is passing away, leaving your life, or killing somebody else and taking somebody else's life the solution to things now?
So last week, the trial ended and the teen had pled guilty and he was sentenced to only 3 years of probation, and he's also receiving treatment for his mental health disorder and also substance abuse. Prosecutors said the investigation revealed that Diaz intended to harm only himself during the incident, which I feel that I have iffy feelings about it, because I know from my own personal experiences that guns in general in public facilities such as schools, such as airports, such as grocery stores, such as clubs, such as churches, it's heartbreaking to know that it's people out there that are trying to commit mass killings, and that's not okay. And you have states like Florida or even Texas that just think that guns are the way and are for guns. Like I don't have a problem with guns. I have a problem with guns being in the hands of the wrong people.
And then who decides also where these guns go? Because we got to look at the actual state. So when you're looking at Portland, Oregon, and their gun control, it's like they don't really have any restrictions. They have restrictions, but it's a concealed carry state, and the restrictions they have are very few, which is why, one, he got off so easily, and two, why it was so easy for him to bring a gun to a high school. Their restrictions on concealed gun control and where it can be in which public buildings it can be in is really limited. So when we do speak on how we want to have gun reform and how we want to see changes in our schools, because we want our babies to be protected, we got to ask, who are making these decisions? Who's passing this reform gun law? Because if we're not voting people in that are going to change these laws, what are we really doing? We just complaining.
And what struck me was back in like 2018 with the Parkland shooting. Like that affected me the most, because I was one of the people in Chicago that was like one of the head protesters that was marching for March for Our Lives and Black Lives Matter. And it's just sad to know that it can happen at any time, any place. Like recently, Clark, like on our first week back at Clark, we had a shooting. Like it's
the next week, it was like it never happened.
Like it never happened. It's an issue, and it always has been an issue. March for Our Lives, don't get me wrong, that's an excellent interest group and organization, but yet black folks has been screaming, "Don't shoot, I want to grow up," for the longest. Do you remember those posters with the baby? I don't shoot, I want to grow up.
They was all up around the middle school.
It was gun reform and gun control has always been an issue. Mass shootings should never happen, like at all.
Where do we
no
go
excuse.
From?
I don't care. Like I'm not saying that I don't care what the circumstance and situation is, but killing innocent lives, it's a no-go for me. And in this situation is iffy, because now I know the background history of the team that did bring the gun to school,
his personal life,
but I just don't think 3 years worth of probation was the right way around. The mental facilities, yes, but I feel like putting children in harm's way, you deserve a little more time than probation.
I can see what you mean, but I feel like because he did not act on it, and because you see that, and again, you got to give the props to the coach for stopping it, but he did not actually act on it. I can understand why they only gave him 3 years probation. And probation is rough because if you do mess up, you go back to jail.
But also, you don't know what could have been going through his mind. He could have. I'm not saying it's like a shoulda, coulda, woulda situation, but I understand where people are saying, well, he didn't act up on it. But you have to make an example out of somebody. I'm not saying giving him the book. All I'm saying is you're going to have to learn what not to do. And so, like, this is important. This is a very, very important issue that is being thrown under the rug and has been tossed under the rug for the longest. Like, I have a list here of, like, just mass shootings in general. You have the Stoneman Douglas High School shooting on February 14th of 2018, where a gunman opened fire with a semi-automatic rifle at a high school in Florida, killing 17 people and injuring another additional 17 people.
I feel like that would have been a person to make an example of. Sandy Hook, Columbine, those were. However, I'm gonna have to disagree with you on this. I do say he was not the right person to make an example because, one, he did not have an actual automatic assault rifle. He had a shotgun, so it wasn't the same kind of weaponry. And two, he did not actually harm anybody because there's been multiple people who have actually harmed people that have gotten off. What was the young man's name? He shot up at the church. The 9 people he shot in church.
I know you're talking about the Charleston church shooting. I'm not saying make an example. I'm saying that if you wake up like one day and just thinking I understand that he had a mental health crisis, but why bring the assault rifle or the shotgun to the school? Like,
why do it at the school?
Why do it at the school? I'm not saying, like, in a negative way, like, kill yourself at home. No, that's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is, why bring it to a place where it's just innocent lives being around? I'm not saying make an example out of him, throwing, like, the book at him, 25 to life. No, I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is, if you do dirt, you have to face consequences. And I think 3 years of probation, I don't think that's enough, because you don't know what could have happened. Somebody could have, instead of that black security guard or security officer being that nice, kind soul that he could have been, it could have been somebody aggressive. It could have been somebody that's screaming and hollering at the boy, and the boy don't know how to react, and he shoots the man. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I can see that, but I don't feel like they can prosecute him on the things that he could have done because they have to go off the facts.
I know that.
You know, I feel like it's a rough decision to make, but I can understand why they came to the conclusion because they can only go off what happened. But I do feel like, as you said, this is a conversation as we're having that needs to be had, and hopefully that when they do give him these mental health, work on his mental health, they're actually doing something progressive and not just writing him off to keep it moving. Because who knows? As you said, this could not help him. He could go off 3 years, get off the 3 years, and decide to do this again, or bring an actual automatic assault rifle somewhere public. But again,
if he was bold enough to bring a shotgun to the school, who knows what he's bold enough to do now? I understand that he was intentionally trying to harm himself, but at the end of the day,
something he said.
That's what I'm saying. He could have had it for anybody. I'm telling you, like, if they trying to hit you with 25 to life and a life sentence and a needle, I'm pretty sure I'm blabbering off at the mouth too. Yeah, I was just trying to shoot myself.
America's criminal justice system, because again, so many of these mass shooters get off on the fact that they say we have mental health problems. Why is it that we only bring up mental health
after the act happened? After the act happened, that's the only time when
they're in trial. Because after they go to prison, do we talk about mental health in prisons? Mental health for prisoners who get out? That's not even a conversation that's even having. No. Anytime we bring up mental health on the Facebook, on Twitter, on any social media, because it doesn't happen in newspapers, it's happening because there was a mass shooting. It's not happening before. It's not talking to our students. Our students only get spoken to, and we saw this at Clark. Only have therapists, counselors actually being brought up, or students actually talking about this after the fact. Where were they before? Where was this help before to prevent? We need prevention, not... What's the word I'm looking for? Dealing after the cause. Like, we don't
need the cause and effect.
Yeah, it's a band-aid. It's a band-aid.
It is. It's a cause and effect. If something happens, now we're talking about mental health, and now we're talking about people's mental state. But in reality, people don't understand that we need to talk about this before all of this tragedies are happening. I'm not saying mental health issues is a way out, but it has been a way out for many people, and I just don't. It's Cry Me a River at this point, because I'm telling you, it's Cry Me a River, because I'm like, I just don't know who lying or who telling the truth, because that's the most easiest way to get out of doing something that you've caused. Now, if you shooting up 30 people at a Las Vegas, no, more than 30 people in Las Vegas,
you got a mental health problem.
But no, you got a problem. It's not no mental health problem. You have a problem. Something is wrong with you. If you're coming, I'm talking the Las Vegas shooting. He killed over 70 people. Like,
I feel like if you commit crime, and you can look at sociology looks at all that. If you commit crime, you have a mental health problem, because your ass is crazy.
You crazy.
You sat here and you took the extra step to hurt other people, to hurt yourself, to go out and commit a crime. I don't know if you ever read what was that book? Crime and Punishment? I don't know. I read it in high school. But the man was sitting here killing people, and it went through his whole mental. Yes, of course you have a mental problem, because if you could sit here and go through with that and not feel sick about yourself, or not feel or think about the consequences, you have a mental health problem. But we can't just bring it up after the crime's committed. Mental health expands behind. It's bigger than just crime. It's children killing themselves.
Children killing other children.
Parents leaving their kids on the road. It's people leaving their jobs. It's so many different ways where mental health can go. We can't just focus it only when it happens with a crime.
We can't. And I'm like, people just, especially in the black community, I know mental health and mental health issues was not a big factor, especially in the black community. That's like it's more of a joke. Like, people can't be depressed, people can't be stressed, people can't be having anxiety. Like, growing up, I saw it, people around me saw it as like the white way. Like, you're acting white, you can't be depressed, you can't be stressed, you can't have anxiety, and that's not true.
I've seen that. This is another personal example, but I had a friend whose sister tried to commit suicide, and she called the mom to call the cops. No one called the cops. Nobody called anybody to come help the sister. Nobody called the suicide helpline. They said, "Girl, you're tripping," and they knocked the door down and just got her out. But did anybody give her up afterwards? No. Granny talked all her stuff. They told her go to church, all of that. But go to church. I'm telling you, there is the actual progressive help to get to solutions.
I'm telling you, I love God. I love the church. Don't get me wrong, but it's a way. That's for hope and faith. But if somebody's down and at their lowest, I'm pretty sure they don't have faith. I'm pretty sure they don't have hope for themselves.
They gave up. Right.
It's a different form that people need to start taking. Like, take mental health issues serious. That's not nothing to play around with. That's not nothing to joke around with. Like, I don't care. Like, you have to start calling people and checking up on people, because everybody in life aren't doing good. People are just going through life with, like, they just going through the motions of life. And I'm like, people have so many traumas and issues that go unheard just because the fear of embarrassment, like you said, the fear of getting talked down, getting belittled, and everything. And I'm like, I don't feel that's the right take on life. Like, everybody isn't okay. I don't care what nobody says. Everybody's going through something, and it's not nobody's place to criticize them for how they're feeling. Like, I hate when somebody tells me how to feel, what to feel. You can't feel this way, you can't cry, you can't do this, you need to be strong, you need to be independent, you need to do this, you need to do that. Why can't I cry? And why can't I have feelings? Why can't I have emotions? Especially in the black community. Like, crying and showing your feelings and expressing yourself it's
looked down upon.
It's looked down upon like you're weak. And I'm like,
it's
no.
Like, I feel like we've conditioned, and again, we've been socially conditioned so much that we're like, nah, you just gotta keep going. Because again, and it's crazy because it's 400 years after we landed, but we're still dealing with the ratification, the effects of slavery. Like, people still beat their kids. And why are we whipping our children to make them understand respect and diligence?
and duty. Like, that is not something that happens. Why don't we speak to one another? Why can't we properly communicate?
It always has to be physical. It always has to be negative.
We have to put each other down.
I'm not saying don't whoop your kids. I'm not going to be nobody mama telling nobody mama what to do, how to do it, how to raise your kids. But at the end of the day,
why are you hitting them? Are you hitting them to make them understand? Is that your first choice, or are you hitting them because that's the only way you know how to make somebody bow down to you? Because that's the only way we understand. And again,
that's a slave mentality.
Yeah, and back to understanding, like, I want to speak about, his name was Maurice Wilbur, and he committed suicide because he was bullied by the black community because of his he had a trans girlfriend, and he got bullied about it, and people were just, you're weak, understanding. No, this man got beat down, and when you get beat down by society's expectations, by your own family's expectations, why do we, as a community, the United States, as a black community, just decide to take suicide? Why do we just kill ourselves? Why are there no solutions? Is it because our own community isn't upholding us? Because we find there's nobody around to tell us, hey, we can help you? There's no help. It's a dead end.
But like you said earlier, it's just the part like 400 years back of just, we're living in modern day like slavery, and it's mental, like it's everything is like in your head, in your mind, because we're trained to be that negative, especially in the black community. We are trained to be that strong-minded, independent person, but everybody can't be strong. Everybody can't uphold, like, it's not. They just put so much baggage on us just to lift up and just go on about our life without thinking about the consequences and repercussions of actions that are being thrown at us. Like, we have so much to not only lose, but we have so much to catch up on, and not only that, but we have also so much to prove. Like, we're still seeing, even with all these rights we may have supposedly gained, rights and voting rights,
citizens, we're still treated as that. This really brings us to our next topic when we're talking about criminal reform, and the black community being one of the high. The United States has the highest prisoner per population rates, and that's the issue. And who's in these prisons? But that's something we're going to talk about after our music break.
Yeah, after our music break, we're going to talk about the A3C Conference, the criminal reform panel discussion with Charlamagne the God from the Breakfast Club. T.I. That's my dog. T.I., rapper T.I., and also New York's best-selling author, Shaka Senghor. He has an amazing book out right now. We're going to shout him out later. But stay tuned. This is Talking Back, Thinking Womanism, and Thinking Black on WSTU.
They gonna see us all the fucking time. Y'all gonna see us all the time. From WSTU to the White House,
basically,
to the international political forum.
We really are literally.
Where we going? Maria?
We gonna be everywhere. We gonna be in DC. We gonna be in. I want to go to Hungary.
Oh, we can do that.
We
gonna be everywhere.
I really want to go to Hungary.
To the top. Where we going?
Speak facts.
Where we going?
Just straight facts. I want to go everywhere. We're finna be nationwide. Nationwide is on our
Catch
side.
Us. Catch us in New York, Tokyo, Paris, Switzerland, Hungary, and
Australia, Alaska, Canada,
South Africa. Again,
the motherland.
Again, she got the connects.
And when I'm hooking up with the CAU, you know I'm listening to WSTU.
Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Talking Back, Thinking Womanism, and Thinking Black on WSTU. So today we're going to talk about, me and Shanti went a few weeks ago to the A3C Conference.
Yeah, it was
dope. It was like,
it was an experience, and I really appreciate getting that experience.
It was like, I learned so much regarding to like media, society, social inequalities. Like, it was just a whole lot of just black excellence just in a building, and I loved it. And they had so many celebrities, entertainers. They even had activists. They had Stacey Abrams.
Culture changes.
Stacey Abrams was there. 2 Chainz was there. Rapper T.I., Charlamagne the God, Shaka Senghor. They had a lot of people at this conference, and it lasted for a whole week. And it was just an amazing experience overall.
Do you feel like you saw your future? Because I saw my future.
I saw my future when I when I had sat on a panel with 4 amazing women that were entrepreneurs in the media field, the tech field, and the film field, and they were just like, they just gave me this, like, they just boosted my level. Yeah, they spoke to me. Like, I felt like their energy, I felt like where they were coming from, because they came from nothing and made their own empire. And that's technically what I want to do. Like, I saw myself like just sitting at the panel and just talking about it.
It's gonna be success.
It's gonna be something.
It's gonna be black excellence. Like,
Black
it's
excellence,
nothing less that we can have.
especially with our women. Like, I love seeing black women just succeed in life.
We
And
continuously prove why we are the most educated, like the most
you're not
educated
lying.
people in the United
You're not
States.
lying. You're not
Period.
lying.
Like,
But anyways, we're going to talk about the criminal reform panel discussion with Charlamagne the God, rapper T.I., and also New York's best-selling author. Shout out to Shaka Senghor. I had me and Shanti had our own personal interview with him during the conference.
Y'all can catch it on our YouTube channel as well. He took time to talk to us and about what he sees as future criminal reform and solutions we can have for the community. And I think it was really dope. Maria did great too. She did her thing. You know, that's our interview right there.
Thanks, sis. Thanks. But to start off, the panel they introduced the 1994 criminal bill.
And that was
passed.
introduced under our former President Bill Clinton, who, let me point out, was a Democrat when he passed it. Because one thing that irks me is the fact that we see party lines, we see Republicans as bad and Democrats as good. No, when it comes to the black community, when it comes to like actual progressing in society in the United States, we have a 2-party system, and honestly both parties are doing the same thing. They busting down on us. They are bringing people down. You know, they're keeping what is the word I'm looking for? The class system that we have, it continues. Nothing has really changed, no matter what party you have in. It's just certain parties make certain things more distinctive, more public in the media, but they're doing the same thing behind the scenes.
And I'm not saying all like Republicans are bad. I'm not saying all Democrats are bad, but it's all in who you elect.
Who you vote for.
It's all in who you elect. And this criminal bill is one of the largest crime bills in history of this country. It created 100,000 new police officers like on the streets of the United States. It also had funded $9.7 billion in funding for prisons and $6.1 billion in funding for the prevention programs, which were designed with significant input from experienced police officers.
So not from criminals or people who ex-felons who may have actual input into how to prevent what they did. It also, it also expanded the government's ability of dealing with problems caused by illegal aliens. So they see it as, if you are in here illegally and you trying to commit a crime, how they can deal with you and the things they can do versus shipping you back to your country just expounded with this bill.
And I would like to say something. People say nowadays that slavery has been abolished for years, this, that, and the third. But the 13th Amendment, it abolished slavery, but
it allowed in prisons.
But it's allowed in prisons. Like, don't let the Constitution and the amendments fool you. We pushed it because the 13th Amendment was introduced by a Democrat, but no, it was introduced by Republicans. But they made democratic states ratify it so they can stay in the country. Mm-hmm. So what does that say? Both parties worked together to pass the 13th Amendment. Mm-hmm. And you could say it was for the future and for the freedom of our people. But how are we free when the majority of the black population of our black males are in prison? They will imprison us before they let us be free. They will, and then after prison, you're technically still not free. Because
probation is
parole.
You can't get nothing. If you get caught outside and you outside with your buddy and your buddy got a gun he ain't tell you about, that can send you back to prison. Not even jail, prison for a couple of months, years, and you ain't even have it on you, but you was on parole, and you not off parole for 2 years. It's pretty much you slip up, you back. It's no exit to it. There's no freedom from it. Once you're in the prison system, you will continue being in the prison system. Almost 70% of prisoners go back, are reoffenders. So what does that say about the American prison system? Like, really?
And that's what in the discussion panel they were talking about. They were basically both rapper T.I. and Shaka Senghor both were in prison. Shaka Senghor was in prison for what, 17 years?
Yeah.
He was in prison for 17 years on a murder case, and like sitting there listening to him, I didn't see him as a murderer. I saw him as a back in the day, lost black man that just didn't have the right resources and the right, what's the word? The right
guidance?
Yeah, the right guidance. Like when I was interviewing him, and
it was corrections to ourselves. I have to double check, but it was 19 years he served in prison.
Yeah, 19.
And he was sentenced when he was much younger. He was not a juvenile. He's not a youth, but he was much younger, and it was a felony case. It was first offense felony case. So, and I saw him as I want to say, like, he was like a revolutionary character up there on the panel. Like, when he was speaking, it just made me realize how important it is to know that we have to protect our black men, especially when it comes down to prisons. Because when he was describing his experience in prison and then the after effects of him being out of jail, the changes that prison put him through, not even prison, but the people that he found in prison, how much they drastically changed his life.
And not only that, but also the connections that he did have with his family. He didn't have people call him. He didn't have people to come visit him. It was no support at the end of the day.
And back to mental health. If you're in prison, which it's rough in prison. I can't really speak from personal experience, but I know it's rough in prison, and you don't have your people backing you. You have no support, and the prisons aren't mentally supporting you, educationally supporting you. They aren't giving you anything. What happens to your human spirit, your human soul? It gets crushed within.
It does. And every prisoner isn't a bad person.
Sometimes bad people make bad mistakes,
and sometimes good people make bad decisions.
Period.
And I'm not saying that he's a saint and he shouldn't have went to jail, because I know him personally. If you do the crime, you do the time. But at the end of the day, I'm not deflecting his character as a person, because I see his character. I actually got to spoke with him like one-on-one, and it just shows to me how people, like, how they portray black people as these monsters,
aggressive animals, savages.
And in reality, this man went from doing young dumb stuff to being a speaker at colleges and high schools, and just telling people about prison reform and how the prison system needs to be reformed. Because at the end of the day, if you're a black man and you get arrested today and you serving 20 plus years, blah 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 blah, in a prison, that's going to attack your mental state, your physical state, and also your emotional state, because you're sitting there with all men in a nasty, like, prisons aren't the best. It's not a country club. It's not a country club. It's basically hand-me-downs of
other people. But to compare and contrast, Zimmerman also killed someone. He took a person's life.
He did.
The time that he got and what progression has he made since Trayvon Martin, rest in peace, passed away.
Zimmerman didn't get no time.
But yeah,
he got court time. He got court time. He didn't get any time.
Shaka Senghor also committed the same crime, got 19 years. Now he's a felon. He comes out, he cannot vote. It is difficult for him to get a job, because it's not exactly like you get out and the state is trying to help you or hand you out jobs. And
you can't even go to school. Like, you can't even take out a loan if you're like.
And if you're on parole, you gotta pay your fees. You gotta if you went in for a drug offense and they gotta drug test you every month, you have to pay that fee. No matter when you get a job, how you got that job, how you got that money. So that, that pressure to, because when you get out of prison, you also have to have somewhere to stay. You have to be able to feed yourself, but no one's providing this, and you've been away for 20
And then
years.
what people fail to realize, if you go to jail at a young age, let's say you committed a crime 18, 19 years old, and you're doing 20 plus years, you're going to still,
your family
you're still going to have that still mentality of a 17, 18, 19-year-old. You're going to still have that mentality. You're not progressing in jail at all. You're not going through the motions of life outside of prison, outside of those walls of prison. Also, and that's what people fail to realize, that most prisons does not provide educational resources things, mental health facilities.
They
don't provide any
that.
of things that you have to have in life. Like, I know from personal experiences where individuals did go to prison at young ages but failed to adapt to life after they got out 20 plus years from now. Like, it's a challenge not only for them, and people don't even understand, because I've never been to jail. You haven't been to jail. People are not going to understand until they see it themselves, and that's what the problem is. Because when people come out of jail, they see them as a convict that made mistakes and did this, that, and the third, but they fail to realize those are human beings too, and that it's a problem when it's our own people that's going through this. And mass incarceration is real. Don't get me wrong. It's not every, like I said, every black person is not a monster. People make mistakes, and if you think about it, and if you look at the statistics and the overall history, majority of the causes of mass incarcerations are from young black males. Young black males that have not adapted and experienced life.
And to bring that back to the A3C Conference, Shaka Senghor, he cracked the joke about it, but he was like, have you ever seen 2,000 black men walking the same way, doing the same thing at the same time?
I said Morehouse. I said Morehouse.
No, for real. Where else are our black men together as a community? They put us in prison. That is the community that we have. And back to what T.I. said, because he spoke about the education and how he ran a lesson in prison. They did not have education in prison. They were sitting there with their thoughts. And if you have no one helping you navigate this, and you've never been given the tools, and you've never given a foundation to work through your emotions, to work through your mental health, all that's going to happen is you become angry and bitter towards society.
You are, because you're going to, at the end of the day, because you're going to look at it as nobody's helping or guiding me in the right direction. I'm going to have to do this all on my own. So it's going to be that wall up of people that just say, well, I have to do this on my own. I have to look out for myself at the end of the day. And that's where a majority of these attitudes come from. Because in jail, you know what you have to hustle. You got to make sure you straight, like that you don't, like nothing happens to you. You have to make sure.
You're in a war mentality.
You're basically in a war mentality. And I think T.I. said this. It's basically like it's military enforced policies in the prison systems. But you got to look at it. It all starts within the educational system as well.
They use military discipline.
And people do not realize that they do start us off with schooling. You gotta go in when the bell rings. You gotta line up. You gotta
eat when they tell you to. You gotta use the bathroom when they tell you to. Like, you gotta go to sleep when they tell you to. You have to read when they let you read. You have to do what they say when they say it, and you have no if and or buts. You can't think without them telling you when you can think.
And I'm not saying the school system is comparable to the prison system, but they have the same values, I believe. Like, it's the same setup. And what are
we teaching in our education system? Because if you look at the percentile of where the United States falls across the country, the Asian countries are leaving us in the dust. The United States is barely hidden in the top 50 countries.
They're not.
How are we one of the number one first world countries in money and economics and capitalism and industry, and yet somehow we cannot educate our children? Why? Because we don't want to educate our children. Because as long as we keep most of our population in prison, we have one of the highest prison to population percentiles in the world.
And as long as you keep putting in your mind that school isn't important and school doesn't matter, and I'm not smart enough, you sticking with that mentality, is just basically back in the day. This is what society wants. I'm not going to say a specific race group, but this is what society wants. They want us to think of less of ourselves and does not want us to prosper. Because at the end of the day, not too long ago, they didn't want us to read. They didn't want us to write. They wanted to train us with their religion. Not teach. They wanted to train. So it's a difference. For them. It's a difference. And black folks just need to start owning up and taking responsibility and going that extra mile and proving people wrong. Like, it's not our fault. I'm not saying it's our fault. All I'm saying is, if we see a problem, don't be quiet about it. Don't raise the issue. Make it an issue. Don't just because it's not hitting your doorstep does not mean that it's not a problem. And I hate when people say that.
I want to say this because I do feel like the black community does speak on this. I feel like we have all the avenues where we protest, we rally, and we know the problems within our community.
We do.
But actual reform and actual changes is not being made.
It's not.
The people who control our communities, who control our blocks, our districts, our counties, are not representing what we want governmentally changed. And I mean, it's hard to reform a system that was never meant for you. It's really impossible.
But you know
what are we doing to create a system that is going to actually uplift our community? Because if it's not for us, then make it for us.
Don't even make it for us. Build something so wholeheartedly separate from what they had that's supposedly for us. Like they say, they claim that we're all equal. We all have the same rights and we all have the same duties here. But if you think about it, why do we have hoods? Why do we have ghettos? Why do we have the projects? But white folks have the Beverly Hills. Why
does Georgia Tech have a bomb community, an amazing community, all these resources, and the AUC, which has been around since the 1800s, is stuck in the hood? Why is this the way that why is the black community's excellence stuck in poverty? Why is white excellence
because that's where they see us at, though. If you think about it, that's where they see us at. They see us as the hand-me-downs of society. They not too long ago, we was 3/5 of a man. Not even us.
But I feel I feel like it's even nowadays it's less of how the white man sees us and how we see ourselves, because when black people do get money, where do they move to? We do have black Beverly Hills. We have black higher middle class and upper class. But mentally, if we want to make it, we got to be where the white man's at. We don't build our own ideology of success. We don't build, and that's what we need to work on, because we have the foundations for that, but we aren't, manifesting it.
We do. And if you think about it, this generation and the generation before us, before ours, we are hustlers, business people. We are our own entrepreneurs. We literally just grasp the concept of creating and starting our own businesses. And that's a problem, because I'm not saying it's positive, yes, don't get me wrong, but it's a problem that it took us this long to recognize our worth and our excellence. That's where the issue stands, where we're just now making our own venue. We starting our own businesses, and we're becoming our own entrepreneurs. And I'm like,
I feel like that was there beforehand, but Black Wall Street did exist, and it got crushed. But I feel like after Black Wall Street, we focused a lot on desegregation, and that's where the problem came in. Mm-hmm. Because we were so focused on getting into where we was not accepted that we took our points away from ourselves into being accepted instead of building our own. Yeah. And that's where we messed up, because if we had just kept going, kept grinding, kept rebuilding Black Wall Street as many times as they bombed us, keep rebuilding it, we could have been further. We could have progressed more.
We really could have. But yes, this is Maria and Shanti. Thank you guys for joining in, and stay tuned for us next week. We're going to be back here at 10 a.m. This is Talking Back, Thinking Womanism, and Thinking Black on WSTU.